All right, hello future library professionals. If you're gearing up for exams like the UGC NET, KVS, or DSSB, then you already know how big of a deal classification is. Today we're going to tackle a topic that can feel a little intense, but I promise it's totally doable. We're cracking the code on SR Ranganathan's colon classification.
So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with the big idea behind the whole system. Then we'll get into its core method, the real engine of CC. After that, we'll decode that famous PMEST formula, look at the blueprint Ranganathan used, and then we'll wrap it all up with a quick-fire review of exactly what you need to remember for exam day.
You know, to really understand colon classification, or CC as we'll call it, you have to go back in time a bit and really see the problem that SR Ranganathan was trying to fix.
I mean, think about it. The Dewey Decimal System was already out there, but Ranganathan saw this huge challenge on the horizon. After World War I, the world of knowledge was just exploding. You had all these new, super specialized, and cross-disciplinary subjects popping up, and systems like DDC were really struggling to keep pace.
See, the older systems were enumerative. That's a fancy word, but it just means they came with a long, pre-made list of subjects. Your job as a classifier was to find the best-fitting pigeonhole for your book. But what if your book was about, say, the treatment of wheat diseases caused by fungus in India in the 1980s? There's no pigeonhole for that. Ranganathan realized this Mark and Park approach was way too stiff. He knew there had to be a better, more flexible way to build a custom home for every single document.
Now, the inspiration for this, it's a great story. It didn't come from some dusty old library. Nope, it came from a toy store. In 1924, Ranganathan was in London and saw a guy demonstrating a Meccano set. He just watched as the salesman used the same standard nuts, bolts, and strips to build all sorts of different toys. And bam, the light bulb went off. He thought, why can't we do that with knowledge? Create a set of standard building blocks that you could combine to build a perfect specific class number for any document.
And that Meccano set idea leads us straight into the heart of colon classification. This is a term you'll see on your exams all the time, so let's make sure we lock it in.
It's really just a two-step process. First, you analyze. You take a document subject and you break it down into its smallest, most basic parts. Then you synthesize. You use Ranganathan's rules and symbols to build those parts back together into a brand new, totally custom class number. No more hunting for a pre-made slot. You build the slot yourself.
So if we're building a class number, what are the building blocks? What are the nuts and bolts of our Meccano set? Well, Ranganathan's genius was proposing that any subject, no matter how complicated, could be broken down into 5 and only 5 fundamental categories. Getting this right is everything. It is the heart of colon classification.
Let's break down this PMEST formula, piece by piece. Being able to spot these facets in a book title is a classic exam question, so this is where you'll want to really pay attention.
First up, we have P for personality. Now, this is the star of the show. It's the main subject, the core idea of the document. Ranganathan himself said it's the most concrete part, but sometimes it can be the trickiest to identify. So if the topic is treatment of diseases of the eye, the personality is the eye.
Next is M from matter. This describes the material or the property of the personality. So if your subject is wooden chairs, chairs is the personality and wooden is the matter. It basically answers the question, what's it made of or what's it like? Then we've got E for energy. This is the action. It's the process, the problem, the doing part of the subject. So in our treatment of diseases example, the action of treatment is the energy facet. It's often a verb that's been turned into a noun.
Okay, now for the easy ones. S is for space. This is just what it sounds like. The geographical location. It tells you where something is happening. Libraries in India. India is the space. Simple as that.
And finally, T is for time. This is the when, the chronological period. Indian history in the 20th century. You guessed it, 20th century is the time facet. See? Not so bad.
So when you put it all together, you can get something that looks, well, like this. I know, it looks like a secret code, right? But don't let it intimidate you. This is just PMST in action. It's the unique, super-specific class number for a document on the U.S. armament policy towards Pakistan from 1975 to 2017. Every single symbol and number there has a precise job to do based on those 5 categories we just talked about. Now, Ranganathan wasn't just a practical guy. He was a deep thinker. He actually developed a whole framework for how you should design any classification system. He broke it down into what he called the 3 planes of work. This is a bit more theoretical, but it's key to understanding his whole philosophy.
He saw the process as this logical journey, moving from a pure, abstract thought all the way down to the actual letters and numbers you write on the spine of a book.
So let's take a book on the history of cricket in England. In the idea plane, you're just thinking. You're breaking it down. Okay, the main thing is cricket, the place is England, and we're talking about its history. Then you move to the verbal plane. You give those ideas standard names: cricket, England, history. Finally, you hit the notational plane, where you translate those words into the final code that ends up on the shelf. It's a structured path from thought to label.
Okay, let's shift gears and really zero in on the stuff that pops up on exams again and again. These are the high-yield concepts you absolutely want to have in your back pocket.
Let's talk about the APUPA pattern. This is Ranganathan's brilliant method for arranging books on a shelf. Imagine you find the perfect book on your topic. That's the umbral region, the U at the center. Right next to it, on either side, are the penumbral regions, the P's. These are closely related books, maybe an intro to the topic or some advanced studies. And further out, you have the alien subjects, the A's, which are totally different topics. It creates this incredibly intuitive and helpful browsing experience. It's just genius.
Okay, remember this number, 6. Column classification has 7 editions, but the one you really need to focus on for your exams is the 6th edition, especially the revised version from 1963. The sources are very clear on this. It's considered the most stable, the most widely used, and it's the version that's almost always taught and tested. So unless you're told otherwise, focus your energy on the 6th edition.
So, let's do a super fast recap. Your exam quick hits. Number 1, analytico-synthetic means you build the number, you don't find it on a list. 2, PMEST gives you the 5 building blocks. 3, AUPUPA creates that helpful logical order on the shelf. And 4, the 6th edition is king for your exams. If you can nail these points, you have got the core of colon classification down.
Look, start treating every book title you see like it's a little puzzle. Keep practicing breaking them down into PMEST, and I promise you, what once looked like a confusing string of symbols will start to look like a perfectly logical sentence. You can do this. Now go out there and crack the code.